Chinese cars are coming. China's car manufacturers have undergone a rapid transformation in reputation, transitioning from being perceived as producers of subpar imitations to formidable competitors against Western brands. In terms of market size, China's domestic market surpasses all others, with a staggering 27 million cars sold last year, compared to 13.75 million cars and light trucks in the United States and 9.25 million cars in the European Union. Furthermore, China's dominance in the electric vehicle sector is even more pronounced. In the previous year, China registered a staggering 5.4 million battery electric vehicles, accounting for two-thirds of the global total. Additionally, China controls approximately 76% of the world's battery cell production capacity and maintains a firm grip on the essential raw materials required for their manufacture. This advantageous position equips Chinese car manufacturers with a strategic edge, enabling them to produce EVs on a massive scale while significantly reducing production costs. So, how will the US and EU respond to the growing influence of China in the automobile industry? In this video, we'll explore the measures being taken by the US and EU to safeguard their respective markets from the influx of Chinese cars. If you're interested in these topics, you've come to the right place. Before we delve into the details, consider subscribing to our channel to stay updated with more intriguing videos covering developments in Asia. Different US and EU responses to the Chinese car challenge. The transition away from internal combustion engines presents a significant strategic opportunity for China, given its car manufacturer's already dominant position in global battery and clean energy technology markets. However, the responses from policymakers diverge. The United States adopts a protectionist stance, exemplified by a substantial 27.5% tariff on Chinese-made cars, initially implemented during Donald Trump's presidency. This approach has been reinforced by President Joe Biden's Inflation Reduction Act, which provides tax credits to incentivize car and battery production in North America. Additionally, bipartisan animosity towards Beijing makes it challenging for Chinese carmakers to access the US market openly. Conversely, Europe's policies have unintentionally created an opening for China's emerging car brands. The European Union imposes only a 10% tariff on imported cars, and national subsidies for electric vehicles apply to both domestically produced and imported vehicles. The European market's appeal to electric vehicle manufacturers is further enhanced by the EU's recent decision to ban the sale of new combustion engine cars starting in 2035, a decision also adopted by the UK. This divergence explains why you might spot a BYD-branded car in Dusseldorf but not in Dallas. BYD, a manufacturer of clean vehicles and the battery cells powering them, sold nearly 2 million cars last year, surpassing Tesla. It's just one example of several Chinese brands making inroads into the European market. Comparatively, Europe's electric vehicle market is more accessible than those in China and the US, where national or regional assembly is typically a prerequisite for purchase subsidies, and import duties on foreign vehicles are higher. The dispute between China and the EU on electric vehicles. The European Commission is currently looking into the possibility of imposing higher tariffs on imported electric vehicles, particularly those from China. These tariffs are being considered to protect European Union manufacturers from cheaper Chinese EV imports that may have benefited from government subsidies. The Commission has up to 13 months to decide whether to impose tariffs that exceed the standard 10% rate for cars, making it a high-profile case against China. However, this investigation has stirred up tensions related to the EU's aggressive climate change goals, which include banning the sale of new combustion engine cars by 2035. If the EU decides to impose new tariffs on Chinese EVs, it could contradict its own climate objectives. On one hand, the EU is encouraging the adoption of green energy vehicles by providing incentives and subsidies to promote EV purchases. On the other hand, it is considering tariffs on imported electric vehicles. This move seems to be an attempt to give local car manufacturers time to catch up with China's competitive advantage, but it raises questions about the EU's commitment to its green energy goals. European automakers have consistently called for a comprehensive, long-term strategy to foster innovation and maximize the use of public funds, including investments in battery plants and charging infrastructure. The challenge for Europe is that China has been investing in this direction since as early as 2009, with ambitious plans to become a global battery powerhouse. While China's official consumer subsidy program for EVs ended in 2022, tax breaks and other incentives continue to support the industry. This early investment has given China a significant lead, especially in lithium-ion battery technology, and this lead may be difficult to overcome without substantial trade barriers. Germany's National Statistics Office reported a significant increase in imports of Chinese-manufactured electric vehicles in the first quarter of the year, accounting for 28% of all EV imports. China benefits from not having legacy costs associated with transitioning away from combustion engines and has mastered cost-effective battery production, a major component of an EV's cost. The risk to Europe's economy is substantial, given that the automotive industry is a key sector, a major source of jobs, and a significant contributor to manufacturing activity, accounting for 10% of it. Car exports have consistently generated a trade surplus for the European economy over the past decade. This situation has put pressure on the European Commission to consider raising tariffs on foreign cars. It has also created divisions within the EU, with French-backed automakers supporting protective measures, while German car manufacturers, who rely on Chinese car sales and are concerned about potential retaliation, are exercising caution. So, the question is whether the EU should impose tariffs on imported EVs, especially those from China. It's a complex issue with economic, environmental, and political implications, and the answer depends on how the EU balances these factors in its decision-making process. How the US reacted to Chinese EV. Chinese electric vehicle makers trying to enter the North American market face challenges different from their European counterparts. It's much more expensive for China-made vehicles to enter the US market due to tariffs, making it nearly 3 times costlier than for European-made vehicles. There are also concerns about China's influence in the US, shared by both Republicans and Democrats. These concerns affect various policy areas, including clean car regulations. US automakers are using worries about Chinese imports to oppose European-style clean car rules in the US. To reduce China's impact on the US auto industry, President Biden passed the Inflation Reduction Act. This law includes strict rules, like not giving tax incentives to electric vehicles made outside North America. A logical solution for Chinese automakers is to build factories in North America, similar to what they're doing in Europe. Some Chinese car and battery companies are exploring this option for the American market. But the biggest obstacle for Chinese EVs in the US is politics. Both Democrats and Republicans are wary of China. For example, Microvast, a Texas company, was supposed to get a $200 million grant to build a battery factory in Tennessee but faced criticism because of its ties to China. The grant was eventually canceled. Ford also faced resistance when it partnered with CATL, a major Chinese battery maker, to build a battery plant in Michigan. Ford says it's only using the technology, and CATL won't have a role in the factory's operations. Like other car companies, Ford is working hard to meet the demands of American customers who want EVs with longer ranges. Chinese companies might be good at delivering these improvements. The true contenders are Chinese automobiles. Chinese car manufacturers have emerged as formidable competitors in the global market. Despite trade barriers, Geely, a Chinese automaker, owns Volvo and its luxury electric vehicle subsidiary, Polestar, with plans to establish a factory in South Carolina. According to Farley, the CEO of Ford, the Chinese, not GM or Toyota, are the primary rivals. Ford's focus on China, with operations in the US, Europe, and China, underscores the threat posed by Chinese mass-market electric vehicles. China recently became the world's leading auto exporter, signaling significant progress in the quality and value of Chinese cars, particularly in the past few years. Chinese EVs gained international attention at the Shanghai Auto Show, spanning from high-end models like the Hi-Fi YSUV to affordable options like BYD's Seagull, priced at just $11,400. This shift in the automotive industry is reminiscent of Japan's influence in the 1980s when Japanese automakers transformed the global market with small, reliable cars like the Toyota Corolla and Honda Civic. China's potential for disruption, especially in Europe, is even more significant. For the very first time, Chinese electric vehicle manufacturers are sensing an opportunity to expand their presence beyond China's borders and establish themselves as global icons. Some of these companies have already commenced their foray into the European market and are even contemplating entry into the highly competitive US market, despite its saturation and the complex political climate. Given the present geopolitical climate, these companies are exposing themselves to risk as they expand into nations with strained relationships with China. Some nations are keen to safeguard their domestic automobile industries, while others perceive the entry of Chinese brands as a potential threat to national security. Nonetheless, it's important to note that Chinese EVs have surged ahead of their competitors. In 2022 alone, China exported a staggering 679,000 EVs, marking a remarkable 120% increase compared to the previous year. There appears to be little doubt that these numbers will continue to rise. Will Chinese EVs eventually achieve dominance in the market akin to the Japanese automotive giants? Alternatively, will governments such as those in the EU and the US intervene to protect their domestic companies and brands? We invite you to share your insights and opinions in the comments section below. If you found this video engaging, please consider hitting the like button to show your support. Most importantly, subscribe to this channel to stay updated on compelling videos highlighting developments in Asia.